This video is about how to become a live looping artist. Step number 1, look up Ed Sheeran live looping videos. Step 2, take notes and you're done. That's it. I'm only kidding. Actually, it's actually kind of simple. It's not so complicated as you would think. I was at a gig. This lady turned around to ask me a question.
How do you know where goes what? Oh my golly.
I don't really. I made one thing here, and if it works. I can totally understand why the lady asked me that, and I can also understand why some people that are looking into becoming live looping artists, some musicians, they could be discouraged by looking at such a complex setup. All the pedals I use at my live looping shows, I didn't order all of them at once and then figure out how to connect everything. It was actually a very gradual process. First, I used to perform just with my guitar connected into a mixer, into a couple speakers. I didn't even have speaker stands. I didn't even have speakers. I had one speaker. And I would plug in my guitar and my microphone, and that's simple. However, I had a friend in Mexico who was live looping. At his shows, he would connect his microphone to the looper and his guitar, and he would loop bird sounds and different things, maybe a little beatboxing. And I was blown away that you could sound like more just with using a device that repeats whatever you record into it. So I finally bought my first loop station. And I remember I didn't practice, I just took it directly to the gig and I played with it at the gig. I already knew that the main key to live looping is to press the pedal to start recording on 1 and then press it again exactly on beat 1. The problem with some loop stations is that if you press a little late or a little early, then your loop sounds really funky. Not in a good way. By the way, some loop stations have the ability to set them up in a way that you don't have to press it right on beat 1. You can press a little early and it will still quantize and will know to start on beat 1. And it's the same for stopping. I can stop it before I go to beat 1 and it will know to keep recording until the end of that measure. That's very handy for us guitarists that require the hands to play the guitar, so you cannot always press on 1. By pressing before 1, I can start playing on beat 1. For this, you will require to use a click. Some people use headphones when they live loop. In my case, because I interact with the crowd, I like to have a small speaker and I place that in front of me. I can only hear the click. Whoever is at the gig near me will be able to hear a little bit of the click. My advice to you, if you're looking into live looping, buy your loop station and do it simple. Don't buy a bunch of effects. If you're just starting out, start simple like I did. Plug in your guitar and maybe your voice if you want to, because most loop stations have at least 2 inputs. To record a couple chords and jam to it. And that's the best way to start getting the basic of live looping. Eventually, you will want to enhance your live performing act. Maybe not for the crowd, but just for you. Maybe you want to have more fun with using your loop station. And that's when you start getting other effects. For example, some of my friends have an octave pedal. You get to play with your guitar a sound that is an octave lower, so it sounds like a bass guitar. Or you can maybe buy some percussion like I did, and you can loop your shaker, you can loop your güiro or clave, whatever percussion you use, bongo. You can add a reverb pedal to your chain. In my case, for Spanish guitar, it's a must. But my point here is that you start looping very simple, just guitar and voice, and eventually you add more things to your chain, to your pedal board. Pedal board is a key to live looping, in my opinion. I used my loop station with a pedal board for a while. Every time I would get a new pedal, I would lay it on the floor next to the loop station. And then every time I would step on one of those pedals, it would slide down, especially if I'm at a restaurant with a greasy floor. So next time I tried to tap the loop station to start or stop the loop, I would miss it because the pedal was now like where the people are dining. So the day I finally got a pedal board, it was perfect because I got to have everything in one place. You have a power supply underneath and you can easily and quickly reach everything. And when you're done, put it all together in a hard shell case. That's another key. Some people get the soft covers for their pedal boards. Eventually, stuff is gonna sit on top and it will get damaged. What makes my live looping show special, if you wanna call it that, I like to think it's special, otherwise I would be doing something else. What makes it special is that I use a Godin guitar from Canada, which has a synthesizer access. So I can use a synthesizer pedal. I use a Roland GR20. Thanks to connecting a synthesizer to my guitar, I can play any instrument, saxophone, xylophone, drums, percussion, any percussion. Instead of buying an octave pedal, so I can play the bass with my guitar, or instead of buying a full set of congas and putting it next to me and recording that, it's very efficient for me to have every instrument I want available on my guitar, ready to be played and looped. It sounds like a full band. So why do I use the Boss RC505 as my looper of choice? Well, this is just for now. The reason is because you can record whatever you play separately into 5 different tracks. I don't have to lay everything on top of each other, and so later I'm like, okay, what if I don't want the conga anymore, or the claps, or whatever I recorded? Well, you cannot erase it because it's way below the stack of layers. On most loopers, for example, the RC30, which I used before, you can only erase the last loop. So if I recorded the bass and then I do drums on top, I can get rid of the drums and then re-record it if I want to, if I made a mistake. Now with having the Boss RC505, I'm able to keep separate the drums and percussion from the bass. I do a couple harmonies on one track and then more harmonies on another track. And I can actually pan left or right each track individually. So if you're recording in stereo, you actually get to hear one voice here and one voice here. That's the main reason I use the Boss RC505. Another reason is that I have built-in effects, and those effects can be just for the line, for the guitar line, or they can be for the whole track, for the entire mix.
What gravity is pulling my body, I'm gonna free my mind.
These effects are pretty fun to play with. Sometimes I feel like I'm a DJ when I'm using this loop station. And so that's what I'm using currently, but there's many choices. If you're looking into getting a loop station, just keep in mind to get one that has at least 2 switches, 2 pedals, 1 pedal loop stations. They usually require you to tap twice to stop, like once to begin and twice to stop the loop. It's natural to press once, but it's kind of against nature to press once and then another time. That can throw your rhythm off. So that's why I ended up getting the RC30 that has two pedals, or you can just get a little more complex and get the RC505 or the RC300, which I never actually got around to use it. I have never tried it, and that's why I don't use it. So that's basically my setup. That's the core of my setup. To summarize this video, if you want to start live looping, buy your loop station. Start simple, just connect it to your guitar and your microphone, just so you can start getting a hold of when to start your loop and when to stop it. Get yourself a pedal board eventually when you get more effects, and use a hard case shell for your pedal board. And happy looping, my friends. Enjoy it. It's all about the fun. It's all about the fun. Have a good one.
Después de tantos años, fabriqué mi convicción